And the entire fleet, all 10 now in the start box. Emily Nagel, if you're one of these teams, where would you like to be?
In clear space with a good run up to the line. We've already seen some of the teams hit speeds of 90 kilometers an hour. So give yourself some space, get up to speed, and hit the ground running.
Well, and here we go, Todd. I mean, the teams are lining up. We can see top left-hand side of our screen, we've got a gust of wind coming down the course, 35 seconds to go. The problem the teams have got, if you get a gust of wind, you're going to have 500 horsepower. If there's no wind, you're only going to be trying to start your boat with just 100 horsepower. So it's really hard to pick the start. The blue triangle, bottom of our start line, that's our optimum place to start. New Zealand and Spain are well positioned. France with a late run at things here. It's New Zealand and Spain well positioned, but it's all about hitting that line at top speed when the gun goes. Canada look for a gap late on. 7 here. Top of the line, Denmark. Middle of the line, New Zealand. It's all about acceleration as we turn towards the line. Great start, Spain. Great start, New Zealand. But who's first on the foils? It's going to be Australia, United States and New Zealand, and it's a sprint to Mark 1.
Keep it simple, all right?
Pressure building hard in 2. Pressing in this one. Hard gust.
Do we still overlap?
And a little more tension in their voice in this one as we are off and racing. Race number 1 here at the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix.
Really tight. I think United States have broken the overlap. What a start for Taylor Canfield and the United States crew. They lead at Mark 1. Australia second. New Zealand third. And it's so gusty. What a start from the US crew. How's the manoeuvres on board their boat now?
Going board.
So it's Taylor Canfield and the Americans out in front. They'll make that turn now to gate number 2. Remember, this is just the first race of 3 with the Americans getting a great start. Denmark sits in second, and then it's the Aussies and the Kiwis 3 and 4.
Well, and New Zealand and Australia have had poor manoeuvres in the middle of the pack there. United States look well lined up for gate 2. Spain looking like they're maybe going to make a dive on the inside. Left turn keeps it simple. Canfield wants that, but will Spain be able to get inside? I don't think so. It's going to be first again for United States, chased by Tom Slingsby's Australian crew.
Ivy, help on the course.
55 target. 50.
Ooh, tight crossings there as they all make their way down to gate number 2, making their way up the course now. It's the Americans still in the lead, Australia in second, Denmark currently in third.
Gotta go.
New Zealand, the big losers on that downwind. There was a poor manoeuvre. They've dropped a few places. They're in the pack now, and interesting to see which way will the crews choose to go on Genesis Island as we head upwind. Top right-hand corner of our screen, we can see some dark patches of water. Should be good news for Spain. They're looking like they've got good wind, but New Zealand, wow, look at the angle difference to France. New Zealand is struggling in the pack as Denmark cut back across the course.
We're currently seeing the Spanish team with about 25 kilometers an hour of breeze on that left side of the course. The US team on the far right have slightly less, 22 kilometers an hour of pressure. But as Lisa mentioned, it's super gusty and shifty out there. So expect to see gusts of up to 10k an hour.
And look at this, Todd. Right now, Australia, they're foiling and they're sailing nearly directly up the ladder line. United States not foiling and they're sailing at a far worse angle. So Australia at the moment, they're going faster and they're sailing less distance. That's the perfect setup for Tom Slingsby.
And let's check in down on the water. Lisa Darmanin, you've got the local knowledge. Tell us how Shark Island or Genesis Island is going to come into play in this race this weekend.
Freezes inside.
Oh, it is so difficult to have Genesis Island right in the middle of the racetrack, but it does create a lot of opportunity because the wind has to funnel around it. So we're seeing a little bit of acceleration. So I really like where Australia is going right now, but the big thing that's tricky is it's shifty. So we're having, the wind's moving 20 degrees. So it's really about when Australia chooses to go back, but they're looking like they've got a really commanding lead here, and it's USA that's going to come head-to-head with Denmark as the next boat-on-boat situation.
And Stevie, with Genesis Island in the middle of the course, this course is just massive of what we've seen in the last 2 events in the Middle East.
Yeah, and there's opportunity. There will be gusts of wind on each side, and you've got to make your decision early. That's the problem with Genesis Island. What a fantastic view for the crowd. Right away, United States, as they come close to Denmark here. That's going to be interesting on the left-hand side of our screen. I imagine that's going to be tricky for Denmark. They had to keep clear there. I'm not sure if they did enough, but we'll surely hear from Craig Mitchell if they didn't.
Push the boundary, I think.
Royster Taylor Canfield there. He's saying he wants to push right out to the boundary as we get close up under the shore here. The right-hand side of our screen's the shore. There's going to be less wind. We can see Australia, they're off the foils, doing just 26 kilometres an hour, while the United States, look at that, 44 kilometres an hour. They're on the foils, but it's about to get hard for the United States with one more manoeuvre to do.
Lefty on airing start.
Leg 3 of 7, race number 1 of 3 today. We've got 3 races for you. Australia out in front. They are the overall leaders after 7 events with 56 points. New Zealand sits in second place, but remember, their driver, Peter Burling, he is on leave right now, attending to the birth of his first child.
And look at that bottom of the screen there, Emily. Spain have come the other side of Shark Island at the moment. It looks like a gain on paper.
Yeah, they've definitely got a lot more space to themselves down that side now. They aren't foiling at the moment, 29 kilometres an hour, but there's so much congestion on that eastern side of the island, the top of the screen, that at least the Spanish have space to do their own thing.
First through gate number 3 are the Aussies. Spain looks like they were going to grab second. The USA currently in third. Remember, Spain and the USA had great starts, Stevie, but it is the Australians that have burst out to a huge lead right now in race number 1.
This is just a constant. I think the saying today, Todd, is there's plenty of golf left in this hole, because this race is not going to be over until it's over. Spain now with the right of way over Switzerland and United States, and they're up and foiling. Look at the speed of Diogo Fortin. He forces Switzerland to manoeuvre. United States must keep clear. Threading the needle, Taylor Canfield there. He's now going to watch out for the French. Oh, he's got to keep clear there. That's surely going to be a big question asked by Quentin de la Pierre. It's really tight at the top of the race course here. United States turn right. They're going to have space. New Zealand, he's back in the race on board there. Looks to spin inside. And they think they like the wind towards the bottom of our screen. Last minute manoeuvre by Outridge, who's in driving for New Zealand. And that's hard, coming on board a new crew, but he's sailing back. United States up and foiling. Got to be good news for New Zealand, turning back towards the breeze. As we can see now, Australia, top of our screen, big, big lead.
Well, look how your fortunes can change. The USA was in second place. They drop back to 5th. Stevie, they go to the other side of Genesis Island, and look at the speeds.
Yeah, the US team, the Kiwis, the Danish, they're all doing over 60 kilometres an hour, while at the top of the screen, the teams up there are doing under. So big opportunity for these 3.
Everyone's still chasing the Australians, who are out in front here in race number 1 of the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix Sydney.
Let's watch this manoeuvre. Very tricky manoeuvre in these boats in this gusty, shifty conditions. Can they keep the hulls dry? So good to see the F-50s up and foiling, hey Todd, after a few events where they've seemed almost stuck in the water. A little bit messy on board the United States, but it's tidy enough to stay in the race. France, what a comeback by de la Pierre, struggling on the first downwind, but he's put the course together perfectly, sailing nearly straight down our ladder lines, minimising the distance really well. French are up to 3rd, chasing the Spanish.
And everyone is chasing Australia. Look at the lead. Look at the size. They have increased it over to 200 meters as Spain comes around the next gate. Then it'll be France who have moved up. They've always been thought of, Stevie, as high wind specialists. And this is a weekend they definitely need to excel, because they currently sit 7th place overall.
Crucial event for Quentin de la Pierre and his team. And I think what you'll see as the weekend goes on, especially when it's shifty like this, if you're in the lead, you get to have the first choice. You get to make your own decision. When you're back in the pack, you're a little bit compromised. So for the leaders, they should have an advantage, because they can sail to where they see the wind, and they're less likely to be compromised by the boats ahead.
And these conditions, I wouldn't necessarily say they are our strong wind conditions. Yes, the boats are up and foiling, but it's still quite marginal. With the lulls, they're back into that H1 mode, 1 hull down in the water. So it takes an all-rounder to do well today.
Just as you speak there, you can see off the left-hand side of our screen, the United States had fallen off the foils. Spain and France, they're in a real tussle here. And Nathan Outridge, bottom of our screen on board New Zealand, he likes what he sees on this side of the course, turns the boat now, and it looks to me like he could have a good angle to take him straight back up the course, close to the fans on Genesis Island, with just a couple of legs to go, Todd.
And the gap has really closed as Spain and France are in a match race right now with Australia out in front. Look at the speeds of the Australians on top there. Over 50 kilometers an hour, and everyone else is just in their wake and eating their dust as the Aussies look to put a stranglehold here on race number 1.
But they aren't just sailing faster, they're sailing a much shorter distance as well. We can see their angle on screen. They're pointing directly up the course compared to the Spanish and French.
Boiler at the moment. Keep it down.
So good here in the comms. That's Kyle Langford. He's saying we're going fast enough to stay on the foils. Dark patch of water where they are now. Good chance to stay on the foils for the Australian boat here. They found good wind. Tom Slingsby, well, he lives just on the shoreline there, so he should know his way around, and at the moment doing a brilliant job on board the boat. They stayed foiling through that manoeuvre. Great news for Australian fans, but it looks like there could be a few manoeuvres to do.
It's important to remember as well that this is one of the first times that they're on the small foils in many events, and the small foils make it much harder to maneuver as there's a lot less lifting surface.
It's the first time they're on any form of foil for a while, so for those flight controllers out there, it's a big day back, learning the job, relearning the job, and right now Spain, well, they're doing a great job on board that boat of keeping the boat flying, pushing hard. They're past the French here. New Zealand in the background. They're going fast. They've got themselves up in the fleet again, and it's light at the top. There'll be some nervous people on board that French boat right now.
So after gate number 5, it'll be downwind, and then they'll take a left-hand turn towards the finish line with the Aussies now with a lead of more than 200 meters here in the first race. On the bottom end, though, Stevie, you see Switzerland picking up a penalty. Germany and Emirates GBR really struggling.
Look how slow France are at the moment, Todd. They're 2 hulls in the water. That's so slow. New Zealand are coming at them, but the French have the right of way. New Zealand must keep clear, but they're dead in the water at the moment. What can Outridge do to find a way round him here? He's got the boat fast, but he's going to have a few more manoeuvres to do, and look, he's dropped into no wind as well.
And remember, every time you pick up a position, you pick up a point, so it's 10 points to the winner, 9 all the way down to 1 for dead last, and right now it's Emirates GBR holding on to that last place position.
And the battle is still on between the Spanish, French, and the Kiwis. So far, the French have had the best average speed this leg, but the Spanish are getting back up onto the foils here.
They probably want to do one more manoeuvre, though. I think left turn's going to make it easier to get down to the next mark. New Zealand turn. Denmark, look at the speed on the Danish. They're back in the race. Spain on the inside. They have right of way here, but France are entitled to dive inside. And round the outside, here goes Nikolai Sehested. Back into SailGP. Nathan Outridge is going to dive on the inside here. He does no right of way versus the French. Can Delapierre shut the door? No, he cannot. Nathan Outridge sneaks through. What a move by the Kiwis.
And Nathan Outridge goes full hocus pocus on the second to last leg. Meanwhile, it's the Australians who get around mark number 6, and they make their way for home on home waters on day number 1 here at the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix Sydney. It will be Tom Slingsby and the Australians that open things up with a huge victory just outside of Genesis Island. Take a bow, Tom Slingsby. The Aussies take the win in race number 1.
Well, that was a pretty dominant display. They are the most experienced team in the fleet. Nothing short of what we'd expect as the fans on Genesis Island there. They're going to be loving that. But in the background, New Zealand, well, they're in 3rd place. Nikolai Sehested, what a sense of timing on board Rockwell, Denmark, to come back through. Found great wind to the right of Shark Island on the upwind leg, and that dark patch of water we can see Denmark in now. It's good news for them. France and Spain, can they hold off the late-charging United States? I think they probably can. What a first race. It's going to be tense out there.
But this is the battle now, Stevie. We've seen this before, and we've seen it so many times on Sunday where it comes down to a point and even 2 points to get into that event final. And Denmark doing the best to limit their losses. And look at Nathan Outridge on board New Zealand trying to close the gap. He's going to probably come up maybe a little bit short as Denmark looks to be holding on for 2nd, and the Kiwis will take 3rd.
Yeah, I think consistency is the key on a day like this, Todd. It's so we've seen in this race, we've seen New Zealand have been in 3rd place, they've been in 9th place, they've been up and down the fleet. Rockwell, Denmark were out the back of the pack on that first downwind. There's a lot of action. You've got to make the chances when you get them. As we see, look, top of screen, Great Britain, they're back in last place. Canada, they've seemed to have fallen off the foils. So there's a lot of the big hitting teams that we'd expect to be at the front of the fleet struggling. in the first day back on the foils here in Sydney Harbour.
So top three is Australia, Denmark, New Zealand, Spain in fourth. And look at this,
Tight.
at the last gate, here we go.
Switzerland are allowed inside there. They had the overlap. Seb Schneider just diving inside Eric Heil. What a move by the Swiss, and the Germans fly too high. Wow, big push late on by the Germans. They fall off the foils. That's going to be the Swiss comfortably ahead of them, but that was tight. Every point counts, as you said, and Seb Schneider, wow, there was no backing off the hammer into that one.
And it looks like problems at the back of the course. You see Canada dead in the water right now, both holes, as they have come to almost a complete stop. Meanwhile, it will be the Swiss edging out Germany for 7th place, so it's an extra point for them. The Germans will bring it home in 8th, and Emirates GBR just limping to the finish line, now getting speed. Look at this, over 70 kilometers an hour, Stevie. That's speed they needed earlier in this race. Germany coming across after that close encounter with the Swiss on that last mark, so they claim 8th. As we said, Emirates GBR will finish in 9th, and problems for Phil Robertson and Canada. Steve, I got to wonder what is going on with Emirates GBR. I expected so much more from them at this race.
Well, I think there's a lot for Giles Scott to take in. He's coming in this driver position. I mean, he's two-time Olympic gold medalist. We're not talking about any kind of mug, but it's a very different game than he's used to playing. He's used to playing a longer race course, slightly slower things. He's got some learning to do, but he'll do it.
You can have one bad race in the first 5. You have 3 fleet races on day number 1, then 2 more tomorrow. You can have one bad. You really can't have 2.
No, and I think this is really bad news for the Canadian crew, unfortunately. It's going to make it so hard for them. It's going to be difficult times on that Canadian boat, but it's all about the fleet that's racing. We can see good wind coming down the course. Should be fast to the gun.
Under a minute to go before the start of race number 2. It is official, so it looks like Canada will not be able to get back into this one, so it'll be 9 international teams, all fighting for first place and 10 points. Remember, Australia won the first one, Denmark, New Zealand, the top 3, and Canada finishing in 10th place, so that really opens things up. And Stevie, you look at teams like Spain, France, and the USA who had great starts. This is the opportunity we have to show that they learned something from race 1.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to replicate in these changeable conditions. We can see it looks like decent wind coming down the course. New Zealand and Australia, they're closer up towards the top of the top of our screen. That's where the wind's coming from. And I think in these gusty conditions, you're putting yourself in a safer position being up there. Nathan Outridge on board New Zealand. He's trying to close the door on Australia, but will his timing? He looks a little early for me. He's going to struggle to be quick. Bottom of the line, Germany, but it's going to be Spain and Denmark here. How's the timing at the top of the line? Nathan Outridge spins the boat down to the start. Clear there. Who's the first on the foils? Diego Botín looks like he's got his timing right, and Spain are up and foiling, but Eric Heil, beautiful, big gust of wind for Germany, and it's going to be a solid lead at Mark 1 for this young German crew.
First season for Germany. SailGP and Eric Heil, the 2-time Olympic bronze medalist, and it looks like he's going to get to Mark 1 first here in race number 2.
Good position. Spain are going to drive over the top. Outridge is going to be on the outside of the wheel on New Zealand here. It's going to be a tricky first manoeuvre for the Kiwis. Nikolai Seherstedt on the inside. He's well set for that first turn. As aggressive spin down by New Zealand. How well can Germany perform this first manoeuvre? To keep that hull out of the water. Oh, this looks like a nice manoeuvre for Germany, and they're going to have the first pick at the bottom here. They'll look to set up for a left turn. Happy times on board that German boat, and it's tight in the pack. Look how tight it is as France and Switzerland try and cut the corner on New Zealand and Spain.
All 3 lead boats there doing 60 kilometers an hour of boat speed downwind.
Every boat wants to take the left turn on the inside here. Switzerland, they've got the right of way on New Zealand. What an aggressive manoeuvre by Schneider. He's got to get out of there. Everyone trying to get out into that left turn. Australia slides through on the inside. He's got to be careful. France can turn whenever they want to towards him. And all the boats now are trying to find the optimum angle for the upwind leg as Great Britain, 9th place. They turn away from the fleet. And is it a Hail Mary already this early in the race from Giles Scott?
So Germany gives up that top position to Denmark. Nikolai Seherstedt setting to the right side of your screen. Then it's Germany, Spain, and then Switzerland, your top 4.
something interesting here. Look, none of the boats are really progressing up the ladder lines. The winds are sailing on very different angles on the left of our screen to the right of our screen. New Zealand and Denmark clearly like what they see on the right-hand side of the racetrack. It's the opposite side to the Australians liked on the one before, but who's picked it right? Who finds more wind in the next minute will be crucial.
Yeah, currently we're seeing the German team with 25 kilometers an hour of wind, while the Danish have slightly less, although it does seem to be building on that side of the course now.
So leg 3 of 7 in race number 2 with another race still to come. Canada not in this one. They have mechanical issues. Let's go down on the water. Lisa, what are you seeing? And do you like the split from either of these teams as they try to negotiate Genesis Island?
Well, I'm about 100 meters away from Denmark. They've just lost a lot of wind, but they're about to get into about 30 kilometers per hour of breeze. So they are going to hook into this beautifully. And Spain on the other side has really dropped off. So it will be really neck and neck here. It's so puffy, and the wind is actually really narrow, so the gusts are narrow, so you don't stay in them for a very long time, so you have to capitalize on it. I think it's going to be tight, but Germany should be just out in front.
All right, Stevie, building on what Lisa was just talking about, for definition purposes, what is the difference when she says puffy between when we hear shifty?
Puffy just means there's gusts of winds coming down. The strength is changing a lot, but what's shifty means the direction's changing. So we see right now Spain, look, they're nearly sailing straight up these ladder lines. They're progressing towards gate 3 really quickly. They've got a great shift in the wind. They're sailing less distance.
And the mode that the Danish are currently sailing, they're also having to sail this high, shorter distance, but for a different reason. If they try and bear away, sail a faster angle, they'll hit the rocks. So they've got to keep it nice and short distance here, but mostly out of a safety point of view.
Keeping it simple right now is Spain as they have the lead. They make an extra maneuver right there to opt to go to the other side of the course. And here comes Emirates GBR from 8th place now into 3rd. They're back in the game.
Hail Mary's come good for Giles Scott. He took the different split at the bottom of the course, found more wind. The brains trust of Hannah Mills and Giles Scott at the back of the British boat, while they've pulled it out of the bag when they needed it. They're going to turn right on their own, and they're back in the race.
Australia back into 4th place after winning the first race, and it is Giles Scott and Emirates GBR. They opt for the other side again. So staying away from friends and neighbors, and Giles Scott and the Brits now into 1st place.
And a good comeback by Australia, great comeback by Emirates Great Britain, showing us in the lead at the moment. Nathan Outeridge on board the New Zealand boat back in 7th, but he looks like he's on the inside of Switzerland. Eric Heil hanging on there, but we can see how quickly things will change. And this section of the race now, this is your opportunity to make your move. Can you make some crucial overtakes? Because we're already halfway through this race.
Leg 4 of 7, race number 2, with one more still to come here on day number 1 of the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix.
And I liked on that last shot where Spain were. We can see it's light winds on board Emirates Great Britain. They're struggling to foil. Background there, look at Spain fly across our screen. Rockwell Denmark fly across our screen in more wind. Tom Slingsby's found wind as well. There's just more wind by Australia.
And a look at the bottom left of the screen here shows us a summary from the previous leg and how GBR managed to close that gap. Now, they weren't the fastest boat round the course, 54 kilometers an hour average boat speed, but look at the distance sailed, 0.57 compared to 0.74 for Spain.
Stevie, it just shows how quickly this can change. To your point and what Lisa's been reporting down the water, Emirates GBR was in 1st place. They have now dropped back to 4th, and look at the lead that Spain has taken. And just moments ago, we were talking about how Spain has had great starts over these last 2 races, but can they hold on to it for all 7 legs?
Well, that's true, but we've seen them win events. This Spanish crew with space, I think, can do that. I think what's interesting is that left-hand side of the screen, the top of our screen, left-hand side of the course, on average, that's been the place to be. That's where Emirates Great Britain made their gain. So to turn right at the top was a surprising move, and they have lost out for that, but they're still in the match. 4th place is a good position. De La Pierre on board France, he's found good wind on this downwind. He's back in the race, and it's really tight. This last upwind leg, there could be huge opportunities.
Heading up.
Calm voices on board across the fleet right now as France makes the turn and they head back upwind.
Wait for JK, anyway.
It's interesting here. We see Emirates Great Britain manoeuvre, Australia manoeuvre, and Australia look quite well lined up for some wind on this upwind leg. As New Zealand, they're back in the pack. France, who's going to find the most breeze quickly here? I like where Tom Slingsby's positioned himself. He's not got the right of way. He will have to dip behind Spain, but he's sailing a great angle, and he's sailing towards wind.
Nice, guys. Here, cross.
Yes, still H1. Now slow, all good.
Hey, you got 15 more pressure this way. Hey, stand by. Building. Foil out.
Here we go, Australia are going to move in that dark patch of water. Expect a foiling manoeuvre from the Australians here. They should be able to stick this, and if they do stick it, they're going to have the right of way when they come back together with Spain. It's game on for Slingsby on the Australians, but right now, Botín is going fast.
Diego Botín, the winners of Los Angeles and Spain, looking for a second victory here in season number 4. They currently sit in 5th place overall, coming off a 2nd place finish in Abu Dhabi.
Oh, a tight moment here. Australia have the right of way. Nicole van Verden called the cross. She says they're comfy ahead. I think she might have judged it right. Great call there, confident call. But I think we're going to need to see 2 more manoeuvres for Australia and potentially 3 for Spain, unless they can just creep round the top of Shark Island to make gate 5.
Some brilliant sailing here by the Spanish and Australians in these marginal conditions. They're showing the best foiling percentage throughout this race. Australia so far on 92% fly time compared to Spain at almost 89. That bottom number there shows the height that they're foiling at, so we can see Spain have now just dropped off the foils, but previously they were flying around at a metre above the water.
All kinds of data being generated here at SailGP, and that data is shared across the board with the coaches who are on shore feeding information to their teams. And right now it is Spain that has the lead, Australia 2nd, Denmark in 3rd. And Stevie, these are 3 of the 4 teams that finished in the top 4 in race number 1. So consistency, to your point, as you said earlier, is certainly showing.
Yeah, consistency is key. I think to the left turn at the top's consistently been good. So expect Australia to follow Spain. They do. Rockwell, Denmark are going to follow as well. And it's now advantage Botín, but Tom Slingsby, wow, he is absolutely breathing down the young Spanish crew's neck. We saw a bit of beef at the last event with Tom Slingsby calling the youngsters out, and Tom's back with a bang here on Sydney Harbour, and he's going to want to make a passing move if he can on this downwind leg. But yeah, Nikolai Sersted, calm movements, and in the pack, Eric Heil on board Germany, he has the right of way, but Quentin de la Pierre's got the inside. Can he sling that French boat inside the Germans? Oh, it's tight, no room in there for Germany. Germany must keep clear. Germany must keep clear. Whoa, the Germans missed the mark. Oh, and this could be disaster for the German crew. Can they keep it upright? Just. Oh, indecision by Eric Heil there. Shut the door by de la Pierre. Dramatic moments, and the Germans are going to spin back through the gate. Huge loss for the German crew now.
So as that drama unfolds, it is still Spain and Australia in neck-and-neck battle here as we come up on the final mark. It'll be a left-hand turn and then a sprint to the finish line. It is Spain that has the lead, but the Aussies about 20-30 meters right behind.
That all got a bit sporty at the top there. Great work by Diego Botín, and they're going to sail across the front of the fans on Shark Island. It should be a victory here. Sersted consistent with the Danish. De la Pierre up to 4th, and Outridge hanging on in 5th, but what a race by the young Spanish crew.
And as they come to the line in race number 2, it is Spain that takes the victory. Australia holds on for 2nd. Denmark will claim 3rd.
It's a bit of action there, Tom.
I'll tell you what, but the moment of the race on the penultimate gate, Stevie, where everything seemed to go wrong for Germany, they came in hot. Quentin de la Pierre made it really difficult for him, and we'll see how that all shakes down.
Oh, and Switzerland, top of our screen there, they fall off the foils in a straight line. Big error by the young Swiss crew, and now can they re-accelerate and hold off the late charging British? They've dropped back from 2nd all the way back to 7th, but it looks like Great Britain might sneak. It's another big moment on board the Swiss boat. Wow, Nikolai Relay on board their flight controller. It's a first day really for him flying this F50, and he's struggling in these gusty conditions. There, Emirates Great Britain, Luke Parkinson, one of the most experienced flight controllers, and big move back through the fleet. as we can see the younger crew struggling a little bit here in these gusty conditions.
Take a deep breath as Emirates GBR at one time was in first place. They will finish in 6th. What a race here in Sydney.
Angle there. That's the best in Germany.
So Switzerland looking to hold on for 7th, but is it done as the Germans come flying in? Germany looking to pick up one more point. They're just going to run out of a little bit of Pacific Ocean here, and it will be Switzerland that holds on just for 7th place. The Germans take 8th, but Stevie, I got to think Eric Heil and company are happy to get out of that one unscathed. Lisa, before we let you go with under 90 seconds to go, do you see this race having enough wind that we can see some overtaking still in the latter legs?
Definitely, I think it's all to play for out here. When it's gusty, when it's shifty, it's not the survival conditions we were expecting. It's all about playing the tactical game, and nobody's safe out here. If you pick the wrong shift or you stay out of the pressure, you're going to go from 1st to 6th or 7th.
All right, thank you very much, Lisa, as we get ready for race number 3, 1 minute away.
I think those new to SailGP as well. Of course, the big wing sail, and Lisa talked about the jib. That's the small flappy sail at the front of the boat there. That's effectively the engine on these F50s. Bigger the sail you put on, the bigger the engine you've got. So we've just tried to give the boats a slightly bigger engine, hopefully get a bit more speed out of them as the race progresses.
Well, you will notice, though, it's only 9 teams in the start box right now. Canada's still unable to go because of mechanical issues, but what an iconic backdrop with the Sydney Opera House in the background now. Stevie, 30 seconds to go until the start of the 3rd and final race today.
And there we have it, the pole position, the blue triangle coming off the start line there. That's the optimum place to start to give you the fastest angle to Mark 1. But the more important thing is hitting the line at full speed. New Zealand are out the back of the pack here. Spain look well lined up, Denmark look well lined up, and Germany again. France are diving in, but where's the gap, Contan? I don't see where you're going. It's all going to be a little bit too late for the French, but the French are foiling. What timing by the French. Germany perfect to the bottom of the line again. Eric Heil, what a start at the bottom of the line. He brushed off the incident in the last race again. New Zealand, Nathan Outridge spritz the fleet in 2. He comes through 2nd. Brilliant from Germany, brilliant from New Zealand, and Delapierre. I don't know how he found a gap through there, but he did.
Okay, coming down
At mark number 1, once again, it is Germany that will take the whole shot. And the rest of the field, Mikey, getting themselves into position. How about France and the Australians and the New Zealanders?
Get the dive.
What a start. 2 in a row for Eric Heil. He certainly brushed off the incident of that final gate on the German boat, regained focus, done a brilliant job here. But France, they've been consistent today, but what they'd give for a race win in this final race, as we see all the boats again, look like they're setting up for a left turn at gate 2.
Okay. Coming up in
So at
5,
gate number 2, it's Australia in the back of the pack now in 7th, so they've got work to do, but as Lisa reported, there are certainly spots and places with the conditions that we have on hand to make passing maneuvers. Can Germany hold on to this spot and get a top 3 finish? And France goes to the inside, so Content Delapierre is not done being aggressive out on the water.
Oh, that was an aggressive move there. Dived inside. Eric Heil on board the German boat. He spins it away here, as we see now. New Zealand, well, he got dived on the inside of, but they stretch away, and we can see Germany, they're sailing back towards that darker wind to the left-hand side of Shark Island, Genesis Island, as it's rebranded for this event. So I think that's got to be good news for the Germans crew. Bigger races, bigger rigs out here, big rigs win big races, and Germany, they're leading the fleet away at the moment.
An interesting choice by Germany there to lead the tack back. Previously, we've seen the race leaders take it a little bit further up the course and tack across where this lighthouse is there. So be interesting to see where they come out of this.
Leg 3 of 7 in the final race of the day. Stevie, let's go back to the start once again. And France, Content Delapierre, maybe feeling a little bit desperate, needing some points. He took some big chances in that start box to get himself into position, and this time it worked out for him.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you come into that thing with speed, you've got maneuverability, and he used that really well. But right now, Nathan Outridge has absolutely nailed his line up the course here, nearly sailing straight up the middle of the course here. As we go back to that start, we're on board the French boat here, and we can see there Amélie Rieu dives in to have a look. You can see there's not a lot of gap in front of her at the moment, but the French boat gets up and foiling, and as soon as you're on the foil, you can maneuver the boat really quickly. They dive through the gap. Suddenly Australia have to keep out of their way, and it was a little bit like Moses parting the Red Sea there, Content Delapierre. He found the gap, he threaded the needle, and it turned out well for him. As we come back to the race course now, and we can see it's Outridge, the wind whisperer. He's found his way up this course on board the New Zealand boat, and he's looking like he should be leading here. What'll be interesting, what does he do at the top of the course? Historically, a left turn at the top has been the percentage play. What does Outridge call?
So Nathan Outridge, one of the sailing greats, filling in for New Zealand, and Pete Burling, who's away for the birth of his child, is New Zealand in front. Germany sitting in second. They've yielded that lead. France now aggressively moving now into third place overall, with Denmark in fourth. The Australians now up to fifth.
Nathan chooses to turn right. He obviously heard me saying turn left. He's split away there. If he's found wind, he should be looking for a darker patch on the water. He's got a great angle. The wind's rotated to the right, so that does favour the right turn in this instant here, and it's a big lead for Outridge. As we see De La Pierre, he looks to turn left. Rockwool Denmark on the inside. They're going to need to spin in quickly. There they go. They should be able to make the turn. They're going to turn left, but they're a long way behind New Zealand, and it's going to be interesting to see what plays out as we head down the course.
Let me ask you this, Stevie. Is that what Denmark and Nikolai Sehested wanted to do, or did Content De La Pierre force them because of the position he was in?
I think they had the opportunity to go below France, but I think he probably felt he was going to shut the door on boats behind by turning in there. So again, percentage play. Historically, the way Australia, Denmark and France are going today has been the way to make a gain. Now, maybe New Zealand has seen something we haven't. It looks pretty good. They had a great angle out of that mark.
Now, the Danish and French having that little match race as well opened up heaps of opportunity for the German team. They were able to stay on the foils at that top gate, and they have continued to separate that gap between the two boats.
Yeah, well, we can see the lead that Nathan's taken here. Nathan and the New Zealand crew, they've sailed some good angles down here. They've got to the gate with a big gain. Now we can see the wind has stayed shifted to the right-hand side of our screen. That means that Denmark and France are nearly sailing straight down the course, but sailing fastest at the moment, it's Eric Heil on board Germany, and speed's the king right now as Germany look like they're going to hold on to second.
Gate number 4, it is New Zealand, the center of your screen. They have the first place position right now. Germany, who got the whole shot, the best start, sit in second place. A nice drag race between Denmark and France side by side. It'll be interesting, Stevie, see how Denmark forces this one and Content De La Pierre yields the position.
Yeah, Denmark just far enough ahead. France needed to be overlapped on the inside to have the right of way. De La Pierre didn't think he'd get there, so let's minimise the loss, open up the gap, and they're going to look to follow, but expect manoeuvres from the boats behind as Tom Slingsby, here he comes.
And Slingsby make up the distance. They currently sit first place overall, not only in the season, but in the standings after 2 races. And 5th place for them, Stevie, would still be a win. Let's talk about Nathan Outridge, though, way out in front. Remember, he's filling in for Pete Burling, and I was curious to see how well he would mesh into that team. He knows these guys oh so well.
Well, looking at the numbers from that previous leg, leg 4, well, we can see that he's doing just fine. He is in a league of his own, 70.8 average speed compared to the Germans, the second fastest team, at 66.6, and only sailing marginally more distance.
Yeah, and he's sailing bravely. I mean, look, we can see Genesis Island there, and traditionally they've all gone to the left. Now, the wind has rotated right. Nathan's trying to minimise distance. He's going to be on his own on this side of Genesis Island. He's going to hope he's seen the wind right. But yeah, not a bad understudy for Peter Burling at the moment. He's filling in pretty well, and they had no practice yesterday, so he's very much learning on the job out here, although I'm not sure how you 2 times grand finalist, and he's been runner-up in this SailGP twice, so I'd hardly call him a beginner, but they're off the foils at the moment. Top of screen, Denmark are foiling. Has Outridge found enough wind to get him to gate 5, and then down to the finish in time? He's losing distance at the moment.
Denmark and France, though, locked up in a match race classic right here as they hold on to top 3 positions. This is leg 5 of 7, so they'll make their way around gate number 5, come halfway down the course, and then a left-hand sprint to the finish line, and that'll wrap up the racing for today. Australia has been the class so far, Stevie, but right now in 5th place. Tom Slingsby will not be happy with that, but they should be in a top 3 position at the end of day 1.
Yeah, consistency's the king. I think Tom will be happy enough. You know it's that kind of day. Nathan's going to get across in front here on board New Zealand. Nikolai Sehested, he's sailed absolutely brilliantly today. They've been doing some good overtakes, plenty of room for improvement on the starting. But yeah, look at that. He looks like he should be second behind Nathan up at gate 5. What are France going to do? Choose to follow Nathan and Sehested, keeping it safe on board the French boat.
The Danish have been one of the most consistent teams out on the water today, and if they hold this position to the finish, this will
They
put them
sunk
in the
the
lead.
bow though there, Emily. Have they filled the boat with water? Can they keep it foiling? I think they can. That was nearly a big mistake by the Danish. Misjudged that turn away from the wind, plugged the bow underwater, but they've kept it going. They're slower than France at the moment though.
Australia picking up another position as they've moved ahead of Germany, who have dropped back to 5th place, and a tight crossing with the Swiss, who they come behind them. So now the race is on. Can anyone close the gap to Nathan Outteridge and the Kiwis as they make the way to the last mark number 6, and there you see the finish line. I think they're going to run out of time and distance, but Denmark now have put themselves into 2nd place with France in 3rd, and Tom Slingsby's not done just yet.
I think what we're seeing today, Todd, is how much experience counts. I mean, it's just those more experienced crews, more polished crews. Okay, Nathan's a newcomer to this team, but he's one of the all-time greats in the SailGP League, stepping back in with one of the all-time great crews. So they've gelled well, and New Zealand look like they're going to definitely take the win here in race 3.
And as we come to the finish line for the 3rd and final race of the day, it's Nathan Outteridge and the Kiwis that take the win. Denmark holding off the French, and it looks like they will hold on for 2nd. And look how fast Tom Slingsby's coming in with his speed over 50 kilometers an hour. Does he have the time and distance to pick up another spot? He would love to get past Quentin Delapierre as the Danes take 2nd.
Well, he's got nearly twice the speed, and he's got twice the distance to sail, so this should be tight. Delapierre does have the pole position. I think he's going to shut the door okay. Nice job by the French crew.
Australia will hold on to 4th place, with the Germans taking 5th and the Swiss in 6th. Wow, so for Germany, Stevie, let's focus on them. Great starts, 2 races in a row. They finished in the top 5. There's something they got to take away with 2 more fleet races coming tomorrow.
I think they look like a very talented, very new crew.
Yep.
There's a lot of good points, a lot of mistakes, so they've got plenty to work on. I think they'll overall be happy with the day. I think for this great British crew, Giles Scott coming home in 7th place, I think he's going to be feeling a little bit disappointed, maybe a little bit shaken up by the day. It's just not quite come together. So hard coming in on a shifty, variable day like this, but I think with the crew you've got in front of you in Luke Parkinson, Ian Jensen, you'd be hoping for more. Yeah, I think if Lisa had been able to speak to us then, she'd have told us we've got a fantastic bit of breeze. We've got the bigger foils, we've got the 24-metre wing with the big jib, so we've got maximum horsepower on the boats out there on the water today. Good for setting up for foiling, but the race course is a little bit more steady, a little bit more sailable, so it's going to be about accuracy, it's going to be tight racing, and look at the fleet gathering towards the right-hand side of the screen there. Switzerland, USA leading the fleet back. Australia way out the back at the moment as New Zealand charge towards the line. It feels like people might be a little late. Certainly Germany look a little late on parade, but it's all about how well they've judged that timing now. Germany spin the boat at the bottom of the line. USA towards the top of the line. Australia, France and Spain look late. We're looking for this line to turn white, and we're going to be go in Sydney for race 4 on Sunday. How's your timing at the top of the line? Great start by the USA, but it's Switzerland and Germany again with a fantastic start. 3 in a row for Eric Heil off the bottom of the line, and it's a drag race to mark 1.
Coming up to mark number 1 of race number 4 here on Sunday. Germany on the inside line, but look at the speed that Switzerland has.
An aggressive move by New Zealand, forcing everyone wide, secures 3rd place. Fantastic from Eric Heil. And this boundary comes real fast coming in here. It's super closer to the fleet as we see New Zealand first to turn away. Germany in control of Switzerland, and it's all about accuracy of manoeuvres as the boats head off downwind. But look at this, USA are pushed wide and Australia are back in last place at the moment. No good for the hometown heroes right now.
Up here? No, not yet, yeah.
Remember, coming into today, it was Denmark and Australia tied on points. You need to be in the top 3 to get to that final.
Front 3 boats all doing over 60 kilometers an hour as they approach gate 2.
This is where we're going to learn a lot about the course, Todd. Of course, Shark Island yesterday was a real problem. Genesis Island, it's rebranded for this event, and that's off the top left of our screen. It's all about who can make the gain with minimum manoeuvres. It looks like Germany going to be able to turn left very easily, Switzerland turn right. Who is going to be the first boat to make the overtakes here as we see New Zealand coming in 3rd, but which way is going to favour? Will Switzerland gain sailing away from the wind shadow of Genesis Island, or will Germany gain by minimising manoeuvres numbers heading that way. It's going to be interesting. We're going to learn a lot about the course in the next 60 or 90 seconds.
Elevated heart rates here on the first race. We've got one more fleet race coming up after this one, and then the fleet is cut to only the top 3.
Already we're seeing slightly less pressure on the right-hand side, top of the screen where Germany are. They're down in 18 to 20 kilometers now of pressure, while Switzerland have had up to 23 at the bottom of the screen.
But it's tight. Germany has the right of way. Switzerland need to be assured they're ahead. New Zealand are getting sucked back into the pack here. Outridge had to dip away, but it's Germany. Well, it's all pretty even. Not a lot in that at the bottom of the course there. Switzerland are out in front. What a great moment for this Swiss crew to be leading away, and they've now got control of the race course, and they again look to turn the boat. None of the fleet want to seem to get stuck in what I imagine is the wind shadow of Genesis Island. It's great to have all the fans there, but it's not helping the wind for the fleet. As we see, look at the fleet congested on this boundary. They're over here looking for more wind. As we see a close moment with Great Britain and Canada. That looked like Canada pushed that a bit tight to me.
So a time to shine as you see the ride heights on the left-hand side. That's all about foiling. How high out of the water, Stevie? As we know, the higher you fly, the more unstable the boat is.
Well, it's more unstable, Todd, the higher you fly it out of the water, but there's less boat, there's less foil in the water, there's less drag. If you minimize drag, you're going to go faster. So yeah, you're racing on the edge, but you're going to be going a little bit quicker.
So the optimum number we're looking for there is around 1 meter. So it's on the limit, but it's quick.
Tight moment there. Germany had to keep clear of Switzerland, but right now Germany are going to be sailing a faster mode. Switzerland are going to be struggling, potentially getting into the dirty wind of Germany, and the right of way is now with Germany. Germany can turn whenever they want to, and Switzerland will need to keep clear. It's really tight in the pack out here today.
So the disturbed air coming off of Germany slowing down Switzerland, and off the right-hand side there you see Emirates GBR. They need a big performance here, although they're probably not going to make the top 3.
No, we have to do okay, all good.
Okay, conversation on board Switzerland. They're talking about when Germany manoeuvres, Germany will have the right of way. Switzerland will have to keep clear. Seb Schneider thinks he's going to go behind him. Here we go. Tight cross coming up. It's going to be real close. Switzerland spin the boat away from the wind, hoping to make the right turn. Germany's turning left, and I think that left turn probably is going to be favoured. Germany are sailing back towards more wind, and it's going to be a really tight upwind leg. Look at that, nothing in it on that upwind leg. As New Zealand fight their way back to third, they look to turn left as well.
Stay above.
And the race to the final is on. Currently, we're still seeing the same top 3 teams, Denmark, New Zealand, and Australia. France still have some work to do if they want to make it into that final.
Oh, heartbreaker for France, Stevie. This has got to be, what, the 3rd race in a row where they're going to maybe just miss out by mere points?
Yeah, there are a few points back at the moment, Todd, for sure. It's been a bit of a tough break for them, but it's interesting how tight. The wind's a lot steadier today, and the fleet is so congested right now. It's really, really tight. When you're back in this pack, the wind's disturbed, your tactical decision-making is really compromised. If you've got less wind, it's hard to go as fast out there. As we see, it looks like a gain to Germany at the moment, but they're going to, when they manoeuvre back towards Switzerland, it's going to be Switzerland with the right of way. Crucial moment for the German crew here.
On leg 4 of 7, race number 4, the first race of Sunday, we've reconnected with Lisa Darmana down on the water. Lisa, what are you seeing, and more importantly, what are you hearing as far as a forecast?
Well, the forecast wasn't looking good, but I can tell you we've got more than we were promised. So I think all the sailors are pretty happy. We've got these 24-metre all-purpose wings and light air board, so nice big foils for them to try execute the foiling manoeuvres. We don't know if it's going to increase or not. I'm definitely hopeful, but it is really gusty out here, and you've got to be careful not to get trapped under too many headlands and get in light breeze. But yeah, what a race course. It's going to be so tight out here, and I think it's anyone's game, really.
At gate number 4, it is Germany, the first to make the turn. Switzerland sits in 2nd, and New Zealand with Nathan Outridge filling in for Pete Burling, currently in 3rd. Denmark in 4th. Remember, they're tied on the overall right now. And then you have Emirates GBR and the Aussies in 6th.
Really interesting, as we saw coming in there. New Zealand chose to go behind Switzerland, and a lot of the boats back in the fleet are trying to minimize the number of maneuvers they do. Every time you turn the boat, be it through the wind, up into the wind, whatever it is, you lose distance. So it's a guaranteed loss when you do that.
And we've just seen Germany there drop off the foils in that maneuver. They're back up in foiling now, but that's crucial meters lost when they're trying to hold on to the lead.
Stevie, one thing I've noticed, I think, over this season especially is there's a lot of teams that can get the lead. They can get the whole shot. They can get to mark one first and hold on. It's the teams that can maintain that and stay out in front, because then you see the guys like Tom Slingsby and Nikolai Sehested and, you know, Pete Burling. They're going to come through and they'll find a way to get around you.
Yeah, and it's just the accuracy of the maneuvers. We saw the United States there, new crew, they're learning on the job, but they fell off the foils. They're hemorrhaging a lot of meters, and when you're in the pack and you're compromised, it's hard to sail the boat as smoothly as this. Look how high the hull of that German boat's flying out the water. They're just doing a fantastic job, but that's because there's no one in their way. There's no one compromising what they do out there on the water. And that just means it's a lot easier. Once you're back in the pack, your decisions are affected, the way you sail the boat's compromised, and if you haven't got that experience, it's hard to be as smooth as that. Near perfect act from Germany there. New crew, they looked a bit messy yesterday, but put them out in front. They do a great job, Todd.
Well, don't want to give him the announcer jinx, but this would be the first win in SailGP history for the German team. Remember, this is their first season competing, so a huge victory on a very tricky course, Stevie. Remember, we've gone away from light winds to very heavy winds.
And just look at this performance by Germany. 100% fly time, the only team to stay up on the foils for this entire race.
So can they maintain it through all 7 legs here of race number 4? They've got a sizable lead of over 150 meters. Remember, another fleet race still to come with numbers being crunched. And right now, it looks like it could be Australia, New Zealand, and Denmark in the event final to close things out here in Australia.
Well, it's tight, and right now the German crew are sailing a near faultless race. We said staying on the foils, that's great, but they've had 3 fantastic starts in a row, and this is a really solid performance. Again, setting up for the left turn, that's definitely a feature that we're seeing coming away. Top of our screen, that's a bay in there, there's less wind, and Germany, now they've got to be careful. New Zealand are entitled to room to turn inside here. Germany have to give New Zealand room. Are they clear ahead? I think it's tight. I think they're ahead, but don't be surprised for Nathan Aldridge. He's going to press the button and he's going to ask the question of Craig Mitchell there. Germany had to give him room. That's going to go to the umpires.
Did someone flag it?
Nathan Aldridge there, he's saying, did someone flag it? He's saying, did someone press the protest button? Liv Mackay, she's at the back, strategist, hit the protest button, and we'll expect to hear something from the umpires on that decision.
Or not. 2-time Olympic bronze medalist Eric Heil of Germany takes a chance there. An aggressive move by Nathan Aldridge as he comes in hot, and so far no penalty issued as they are now at mark number 6, and now it is a sprint to the finish.
Yeah, we just heard from Chief Umpire Craig Mitchell that it was very, very close, but it's been given a clear green flag, so great sigh of relief for Eric Heil and the German crew, and it's now just a sprint across there. Perfect execution, they pushed the limit and they're going to get their reward.
Oh.
So history in the making on day 2 at the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix Sydney, winning race number 4 and picking up their first win. It's Germany SailGP taking the victory in Sydney Harbour.
What a start indeed. Sjoerd Biffel wing trim with that. New Zealand bring it home in second. That's great for them on the overalls here. Good result for Switzerland as well. Really nice result for Seb Snyder, and a few of the newer crews really showing some form. It's pretty much perfect conditions out here on Sydney Harbour. It's not too difficult sailing in terms of sailing the boat, so it allows them to show off their racing skills. And there we are. 4th and 5th.
Yep.
Brilliant performances yesterday by Denmark and Nikolai Sehested, and then Tom Slingsby. Well, he's never too far away from the front, is he?
We talk about consistency being king, and maybe some people will say, oh man, Australia and Denmark didn't do well, but Stevie, that's okay. They're okay to let Germany and Switzerland get a win here because it doesn't really harm them that much.
You just got to get to that 3-boat final at the end of today, and as soon as you get there, it doesn't matter what your points are. If you're in the final, you're fighting for the win.
Race 4 goes the way of the Germans. Just over 2 minutes to go until the 5th and final fleet race here at the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix Sydney, and it is all to play for. Now, the top 3 teams, Emily, are pretty safe, but as you pointed out, Spain still has an opportunity to make it happen. But we've talked about this throughout the season. Consistency has been the key, and Denmark has been a very consistent team.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with Denmark this weekend. They've performed brilliantly and sailed just so consistently without being conservative. That's always the risk. If you want to play it safe, you're a little bit conservative, but then you just never quite reached that top position.
And that crew list there, Tom Johnson, Luke Payne, 2 Australians racing on home water for the Danish team. They'll be pretty hungry to get it done as we see the New Zealand crew there. Of course, we've got an Australian driver driving that Kiwi boat, so we know Nathan Outridge is going to be pretty hungry. And then, well, with the Aussie in the Aussie boat in Tom Slingsby, it's all going to get pretty tasty, I think. I talk about momentum on a day like today, how well he is starting. Tom Slingsby's not happy with his starting. He wants to get that right. That top right-hand corner there is the area where there was less wind. The crews don't want to get stuck there and late, but you need to get a start right here if you want to win this race.
1 minute to go until the start of race number 5, the final race here in Sydney Harbour. And here we go. Put yourself in the right position, Stevie, and you are golden at Mark 1.
That's right. It's all about that timing back towards the line. Rockwell, Denmark look good, Australia, but where's Germany and Spain? We're going to expect to see them coming in bottom of screen. Here they come. This is the German approach, the late slingshot at the bottom of the line. It worked for them last time, but will they be found out? It's tight in above Genesis Island there. Look how congested it all is. Great Britain leading back here. Rockwell, Denmark, they're under pressure from New Zealand, but it's Germany. Look like they're playing their card at the bottom of the line. They spin in. Can Eric Heil get it right again? He's going to need to spin the boat pretty quick. Switzerland come down. New Zealand, Denmark are all tied up at the top of the line. It's all about timing now. Germany, 10 seconds to go. When will the crews start to wind it up? The fleet have judged it better this time. Spain, Germany, Switzerland at the bottom of the line. Look for the line to turn white, and it's going to be a clear start, is it? Oh, it's so early, I think, there maybe for Switzerland. They look like they were really, really early. I think they're over the line. France, Contant de la Pierre, bullet out the gun on the blue boat, and he's going to lead us at Mark 1 from here.
So at mark number 1 of the 5th fleet race here in Australia, it is France that gets the whole shot. Spain on the inside and Canada and Phil Robertson on the outside.
Oh, that was so close. Switzerland and Germany got penalties in the pre-start, so they're going to need to be at the back of the pack before they go. As we see Contant de la Pierre, he needed a good start. He got it. New Zealand are in the pack. Australia, again, a bad start for Slingsby. That was his last chance to practice that before the final, if he can get himself out of last place and guarantee that place, as Spain have had a good race so far.
Now, this could be some big news, having Australia at the back of the fleet and France in first. That might actually have a little bit of a switcheroo if we're not careful.
2-point difference right now, so France would need a lot of help. They'd need Australia to stay in the back. Stevie, you know Tom Slingsby's not going to stay there for long, but France, with their best start of the entire regatta, they lead at gate number 2, and it is Spain in 2nd, Canada in 3rd, and the USA in 4th. Remember, this really doesn't harm Denmark and Australia and New Zealand because those boats are so far back of them on points.
Well, that's right. As we see, look how tight it is setting up for the left turn here. Spain around, USA are going to go around clean. And Great Britain peel away. New Zealand have got a really tricky manoeuvre to do here. They've got to do a flip-flop jive. They've got to turn the boat. And then, oh, he's going to choose to go all the way across on New Zealand. Nathan Outridge, last-minute change of mind, I think, there. Sets up for a right turn. But Australia, they're up to 8th. That should be enough for them at the moment, but they're not making it easy.
Yeah, 8th would see them through to the final, but if they lose any more positions, that will see France in and them out.
So there it is right now, France in 4th place. Denmark would be in the final, as would be New Zealand, and Australia would be in 3rd. Keep an eye on that on the left side of your screen. We'll keep updating that as it is appropriate. But right now, it would be Denmark, New Zealand, and Australia. No surprise there, Stevie. They've all been consistent throughout the weekend.
Yeah, they're just very good at doing the simple things. They do the good manoeuvres, and we see here, if you do get a good start, it's a lot easier. France is sailing the boat well. Spain, look how locked in that platform is. How stable is it? How much is it going up and down out the water? That shows you how smooth they're sailing, and Spain looks really locked in here. They're going fast aboard that boat, but they're not managing to make the gains on France that they'd like to, and you can expect in a minute the French to get right in their way.
Yes, bang on, mate.
So France trying to make things interesting with Spain sitting in 2nd place. Remember, Emily Hagel pointed out that if Spain gets the win and gets a lot of help, there is a chance or a pathway for them to get into the final, but it's going to be very, very tricky to keep Tom Slingsby out of home waters in another final.
We see right-hand side of our screen, that's the Aussies there, and Tom Slingsby's managed to find some space, even though he's in the pack, and they are just moving that Rue boat through the fleet so quickly. Even when they're in the pack, they seem to be able to sail that little bit faster than other boats around them. They're always gaining on those boats near them, and that's what they need to do now, because at the moment, he cannot get that green boat off the start line.
On veut cranter, j'arrive pas à cranter.
Quentin Delapierre and the French now have moved right next to Diego Botín and Spain, so they're having a little match race of their own. Meanwhile, crunching the numbers still is Australia moving up. They are sitting in 7th, 1 spot ahead of New Zealand, Germany, and Switzerland. Remember, pre-start penalties have them in the back, and maybe the best race so far of the weekend for Taylor Canfield and the Americans as they currently sit in 4th.
Yeah, the US are doing a nice job at the moment here. Very disappointing race 4, but they look good, and look at that race to the final.
And still holding steady, Denmark, New Zealand and Australia will be through to the top 3 if these positions hold.
Isn't this, Stevie, a typical Tom Slingsby setup? They don't really perform great. He wins race number 1, 2nd in race number 2, then 4th in race number 3. Not a great performance for them in 4 as they finish 5th, but he does just enough to get to that final, and then he turns on the magic.
This is the umpires. Penalty Spain, relative Canada, not giving room at the mark.
Oh, that was a really tight moment there. Phil Robertson absolutely maximising it. Spain need to drop back behind Canada here. Costly for them if they're to have any hope. But at the moment, to be fair, Tom Slingsby's not making any mistakes. And yeah, pretty much classic Tom Slingsby. But see the frustration in that interview, and he really didn't hit the start very well on that one at all. And he'll be frustrated. We know how Tom can get into himself. He can be very hard on himself. He needs to probably just take the weight off his shoulders. He's got the pressure of that home crowd. We know how fast they can sail the boat. Look how smoothly they're setting up there. Jason Waterhouse, flight controller, always renowned for pushing that ride height really high. Carl Langford, the wing trimmer. They get the most out of the boat, but they've got to put themselves a couple of metres further forward at the gun.
And if they do get through to this final, they need to work out how to start pretty quickly.
So the French having their best race so far. Remember, they started off the regatta with 2 fifth-place performances before a 3rd in race number 3. And, of course, in the last race, they finished in 9th place. So they're going to really have to look back at race number 4, Stevie, as the race that kind of did them in that 9th place. If they could have moved up even the top 6, they would probably be in a position now to take that 3rd and final transfer position into the event final.
Yeah, and as you said, I mean, they're sailing so consistently at the moment. It looks like it could be another 4th overall for them, barring slip-ups for the Australians, and it's just those detailed. Tight moment here. New Zealand has the right of way. They set up to manoeuvre, though. They're going to turn right in front of the Australians. This could be a little dress rehearsal for some manoeuvres in the final itself. Is New Zealand comfortably ahead? They are. Should the boats overlap, New Zealand are going to need to be careful. It's tight coming into this gate. Just judged perfectly by the Kiwi crew if they could make it down to that left turn. As we see now, France boosting out in front of the Canadians. The Canadians have had a dirty weekend. Australia now, they're suffering. That's the wing wash, the disturbed wind from the New Zealand boat. That's not helping Australia.
Not helping them, but they are still holding on to the position. Now, for France, they might not make this final, but overall, their position will be brilliant for the season scoreboard, as this would see them jump ahead of USA and Great Britain overall.
Quentin Delapierre really anticipating some big wins down here. They do quite well in that. He'll have to look to the next event, which will be New Zealand. Of course, that coming up at the ITM New Zealand Sail Grand Prix in Christchurch. Boy, right now, Stevie, they look smooth, they look fast.
Yeah, and we just heard them. We just heard a call from Kevin Pepinay saying un peu plus. He wants them to fly a little bit higher. He wants Jason Saunders to get the boat a little bit higher out the water. He's like, come on, we've got this. Let's push this French boat as hard as we can. And we see on the right-hand side of the screen how high that French boat is as they set up for a manoeuvre. The tempo went up a little bit there, slight mistake on the French boat, but you can afford that when you're that far ahead, as we can see the battle, the North American battle, Todd, Canada against the USA, as we see the battle of the Tasman Sea between the 2 Australian drivers. Tom Slingsby and Nathan Outeridge are tight, they're locked together here, right of way with Australia, but can the New Zealand boat put the pressure on and send some disturbed wind up towards that Australian boat? Again, dress rehearsal for the final taking place in front of our eyes.
And this is the battle for 7th and 8th. A boat we have not talked about here in race number 5 is Denmark. They are quietly riding a very clean race. They currently sit in 5th place, and they will probably go in as the #1 seed. Not that the points matter, Stevie, but the consistency of Nikolai Sehested and that squad here in Sydney Harbour has been amazing.
We rarely talk about Nikolai, though, do we? It's like the silent assassin.
The Great
They just
Dane.
get the job done, but the trouble is, you've got to go out and you've got to shoot the bullet in the final and take that win, haven't you? So Nikolai maybe needs to be a little bit louder come the final, but yeah, they sail the boat superbly, slick, consistent, and they're doing a brilliant job here to set themselves up for another final.
And while the points might not matter, going into a final with 40 points is definitely a confidence boost you need when you're going up against Nathan Outridge and Tom Slingsby.
Here we go, real match race manoeuvre going here. Slingsby trying to push the Kiwis off the course. New Zealand can't manoeuvre. If they do manoeuvre, they need to be certain of getting ahead of the Australians. Now they can. They've got relief from the boundary. Tom Slingsby's got to let them go. They've got room on that boundary. Oh, it's a tight moment. Slingsby pushing it hard here. He's going to ask the question of the umpires. But I think that they should have had protection from the boundary on New Zealand there. Well, we've got a bit of industrial language coming off the Australian boat. Apologies for that. Frustration pushing in there.
On the final leg of race number 5, France shows their true colors as they make the turn and head to the finale. It will be the French getting the win here in race number 5, but this could be a little too late as their case to make it into the event final is going to come up just a little bit short. The French win race 5 in Sydney. Canada with a nice bounce back after having mechanical issues yesterday. It looks like they're going to hold on for second place, and the USA will come in with their best finish of the weekend, finishing in 3rd.
Nice finish for the US crew there. Yep. Good confidence booster, and what a tough weekend for the Canucks. I mean, they've had a really tough day yesterday, tough first race today, but that's more of what we're used to seeing.
We might get like a 6 lead.
And a better performance here by the USA team taking 3rd. They've really struggled this weekend to be consistent around the course and get through all their maneuvers, but some solid improvements there.
And as you see Spain come through, Denmark will get 4th, Emirates Great Britain will get 5th. The Spanish, as Emily pointed out, Stevie, they needed to win that race and get some help. They were up there for a while, but they just couldn't stay up front, and they'll finish in 6th place.
Yeah, nearly, but not enough. But to be fair, those top 3 teams, as we see here, New Zealand coming across the line, they have been the class, and they are the top 3 teams, probably I'd say now on the leaderboard for the season. So they are consistently the top performers, and in these kind of, well, what can only be described as perfect sailing conditions, really, on Sydney Harbour. Tom Slingsby was doing a pretty good job of telling us how good Sydney Harbour is. You can tell he owns a property alongside it. Sound a bit like a real estate agent.
And with Australia getting 8th there, that does put them through to the final with the Kiwis and the Danish.
So Germany comes through in 9th, Switzerland in 10th. Pre-race penalties cost them as we get set for the event final here in Sydney. All right, so Emily, with 1:20 to go now before the event final, what did you glean off of those interviews? Are we looking at a match race between Outridge and Slingsby, and the Great Dane's going to slide in there and take the win?
No, I think we're going to have a 3-way battle. It's easy to sell the Dane short because he doesn't come from the same Olympic background as these two, but he has heaps of experience. Both him and Tom Johnson have 2 laps of the planet under their belt. And I'll tell you what, it's not easy driving in the Southern Ocean, so I think Slingsby and Outridge have their hands full dealing with him as well.
All right, final 50 seconds of preparation. Stevie, what's being talked about on the boat, and they've already made up their strategy of where they're going to want to be?
Totally different game now. There's a lot more space out here on the start line. We can already see the boats a lot further apart. I like the fact that Tom Slingsby was the last boat back and he's leading the fleet here. The rest of the day he's been behind the boats. He's been the one trying to find an opportunity, whereas now he's in control. But how's this battle going to work out? It is aggressive out here. They're all saying they're close to the top of the line. That means advantage Outridge and New Zealand for me here. But it's all about hitting that red line. Down towards the bottom end of our screen is where our data tells us is the favourite place to start, and it's all about acceleration. Denmark look like they're going to be trapped out. They're going to miss the start here. Slingsby slut the door on him at the top, but it's all about the acceleration. Australia are going to be so. Denmark are slow. Who's going to be on time? Oh, I think New Zealand are over early as well. Oh, what a start. What a mistake by all of the crews. What a mistake there. Australia early, New Zealand early. Denmark will lead at Mark 1. Oh, a huge error there. Now, how did Denmark play this? They're going to want to make sure they get to Mark 1 at top speed. No rush for Sehested here. No rush. Get the boat sailing fast and now send it down towards Mark 1 hard. It's going to be advantage Sehested when we get to Mark 1. He needs to get past New Zealand before New Zealand are clear to go. Australia are clear. They're out behind now. New Zealand are clear. We're up and racing with 3 boats as they come into Mark 1.
At mark number 1, it is the Great Dane and Rockwell, Denmark that take the lead. Pre-start penalties issued to the Kiwis and the Aussies.
Stand by.
Oh, they said they were hungry for a bit of risk. All three of them had way too much risk for breakfast on that start line, that is for sure. But now, advantage Sehested. Perfect first manoeuvre. He'll be lined up for this bottom gate, and it's all about the decision. Do you turn left or do you turn right at gate number 2?
There is no room for error out there. All three teams doing over 60 kilometers an hour, but these maneuvers are crucial. Look how close these teams are.
Full 7 legs here, the event final at the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix in Sydney Harbour, and Denmark is gifted the lead at mark number 1. Now, can there be some overtaking, or can the Great Dane run away from the Kiwis and the Aussies?
Well, Denmark have got the first choice, and they're going to save a manoeuvre by going straight here. New Zealand and Australia are probably going to split away right. It's advantage for Australia. This is a tricky situation for New Zealand now. They're going to be following the Aussies. And well, Denmark, expect them to head back towards the other 2 boats fairly soon, but it's advantage Denmark. That's a big lead at the bottom gate, and traditionally that left turn has done pretty well here as New Zealand already come back towards this side of the course, and all the boats are trying to find their own clear wind.
It's a good moment here for the Danish. The breeze is slightly lighter on the top half of the screen, but only just.
Well, our ladder lines here, Todd, are showing actually a lead change in advantage Australia now. When they turn the boat here and head back across towards Denmark, the right of way is with the Danish, but it appears to be a gain early on the leg for the Aussies. But will it play out that way? Denmark's looked pretty fast there. Raz pushing the ride height really hard on board that Danish boat. They are ahead, but it's only very marginal, and there's plenty of race left here.
Leg 3 of 7, Denmark out in front as we go down on the water. Lisa Darmanin, in your unbiased opinion, whose position do you like the most?
I do like where Denmark is headed. That has traditionally been the right way to go. But, you know, there's so much going on here, boat-on-boat situations. New Zealand and Australia are in a battle here, but I think this is going to favour Denmark.
I think what I'm seeing is I'm seeing a few mistakes actually out there. There's definitely no one sailing the boat perfectly cleanly just yet. There's a nice lead for Sehested here. No surprise to say the Aussies aren't going away. Right of way is with Australia here. If it's tight, Sehested needs to be confident he's ahead. Catch her down there. She's just coming up. She was watching the Australian boat to make sure that all's clear, and they are clear. So as we head up this leg, it's going to stay tight for the Australians right now. Stay in the match. Keep breathing down the neck of that Danish crew. Denmark have never won a final. They're going to feel that pressure, and the Aussies are going to keep plying it.
And at the moment, the Danish team do have the highest average speed, 51.1 kilometers an hour average, but that's only 1 km an hour faster than the Australians behind them.
Denmark are heading towards less wind up there. That water, look how glassy it looks up there compared to where Australia are. I think Slingsby's in better wind, and he's going to be on the inside coming into the gate at the top here. We know there's only going to be meters in it, but I feel like Denmark have put a lot of risk on themselves at the moment.
Maybe we can tack inside them, can't we? Go have a look.
You can, Tom. You can tack inside. It's going to be tight here. Tom's looking to set up for the left turn. The left turn's been favoured here. Watch for the Aussies to sling inside. And it's Slingsby. He's pushing it hard. He's got to manoeuvre out the Danish way here. That's really close. Maybe too close. Oh, that was really tight. What judgment by Slingsby. It's clear. No penalty there from the Australians. They judged that to perfection. What a move.
So Australia looking for their first win in Season 4. Will it come on home waters? It's Australia, Denmark, and New Zealand as they make their way through gate number 3.
The Danish just looked a little bit wobbly down there. It's really close. Now they're locked in. Now they're the hunter. Maybe a position Sehested's happier with here. But as we get towards the boundary here, Denmark, if they can get themselves inside, they might be able to force the Aussies to move first. And they do. Slingsby has to jibe away. He's turning the boat away from Denmark first. And Denmark are pushing as wide as possible on the racetrack. They want to try and make the next gate with no more manoeuvres.
So it's down to the bottom of the course, back up around Genesis Island, then halfway back down, and then it'll be the sprint to the finish and the title.
Yeah, and right now, where Slingsby's positioned himself, the wind's coming from the top left-hand corner of our screen, and Slingsby's going to slowly press the disturbed wind down onto the Danish, and if he can just move forward maybe 3 or 4 more meters, he'll start to really affect the breeze getting to the Danish.
This was just a moment ago. This was the mark where Chief Umpire Craig Mitchell did not penalize the Australians.
And they were comfy there. You can see there was probably a couple of meters in it. It was tight, but well, it should be tight, shouldn't it? It's supposed to be tight, it's supposed to be close, and Slingsby saw an opportunity and he bit their hand off for it. Look at that judgment on board the boat. As we see it, bottom right-hand corner of our screen, it's the Australians turning up to the upwind leg.
And we'll see if that turns out to be the move of the match. It's the Danes and the Australians splitting the course here. We'll see what Nathan Outridge and the Kiwis decide to do.
Look at that, 0 seconds in it at gate 4 as we're on the final upwind leg of the race. This will be decisive. Who's found the most wind at the bottom of the course?
Now we do have a flip-flop here from the previous bottom gate, with now the Danish going the left-hand side of the course, which did pay for the Australians on the previous.
Rockwool, Denmark, currently sitting in second place on the water. Australia out in front. Remember, this all started after pre-start penalties were issued to Australia and New Zealand, and the great Dane Nikolai Sehested took advantage of it. Now he's in for the fight of his life as he goes head-to-head with Tom Slingsby.
Big mistake there. They turned too close to that red and white marker, and they had to do a slow maneuver. They're some 15 kilometers slower out of that, and look at that 100-meter loss in the blink of an eye. Unforced error. That's going to be costly for the Danish, and that could well hand the victory here to the hometown hero, Tom Slingsby. Just so much less pressure on the Aussies now. It was tight on that upwind leg before. There was nothing, but look at the fans there. Plenty of the locals wanting that, and right now Denmark, well, they're now fighting to hold on to second from New Zealand. One mistake and you get absolutely hammered for it.
Is there time for Denmark and New Zealand to catch the ruse, Stevie, or is this going to be a situation where they're going to have to rely on a Tom Slingsby mistake?
It's absolutely that. This is now it's only if the Australians make a mistake that they lose this from here. They've got total control. We know to the left-hand side of our screen there's better wind.
I wonder if we have to go back.
Yeah, there you go. Carl Langford wants to watch the boats behind. Slingsby's happy to split. Decision, slight disagreement there on board the Australian boat. But there you go. New Zealand starts to follow Australia. And what are Denmark going to do?
And turning.
So New Zealand makes the turn. Denmark now makes the turn as they all head to this last gate here at the top of the course. Lisa Darmanin, what are you seeing? What do you think is going to happen here in the final portions of this race?
I think it's quite tricky decision for Australia, because they are going into lighter pressure compared to their competitors, but this means that they just do one turn and that they can head to that mark, and they got one more jibe to the finish. So it was really balancing pressure maneuvers, but compared to Denmark on the last lap, they've managed to have a really nice smooth ride through that light patch and stay on the foil. So I think they will have the commanding lead at the top here.
Look at this, here comes Denmark.
It's really tight, right of way with Australia, but if Denmark can get close to that circle, Sehested might have the opportunity to do exactly what Tom Slingsby did to him. Is Denmark going to try and sling it inside? No, he's not. He deems Australia to be too far ahead. There's going to be a split, but big advantage to the Australians as Nikolai Sehested chooses to follow. He yields. Oh, it's so tight though, Todd, here. Any mistake now, this is a one-mistake race. If Australia misses the next manoeuvre.
I'm crossing. Yeah, my wheel.
So was it checkmate for the Australians with one more to go? It'll be the Mark 6, and they'll make the sprint for the finish line. Trying to protect that inside line.
Just got to make sure they keep the speed in. They've got to judge the line to this final turning mark. As we see there, Mark 6, they've got to make sure they can do that. Will Sehested try and dive inside? I don't think Australia are going to make a mistake here. There you go, no, perfect from them. Carl Langford's happy with it, and he's putting that disturbed wind back onto Denmark. I don't see any passing lane from here, but what a comeback by Rockwool, Denmark.
So now the sprint is on for the finish line in the title at the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix Sydney, and it's Australia by a full boat length. They have finished in second, third, second, third, second, and seventh. But here on home waters, Tom Slingsby works his magic. Hocus pocus, Australia takes the win in Sydney.
Oh.
And the party begins on Genesis Island. Denmark finishes in second. New Zealand will take third.
Never in doubt, never in doubt. Well, that was a messy old start. What a race we had there. There was a lot of tension in that pre-start, a lot of mistakes during the race. But when it counts, Tom Slingsby and those Australians have got it done.
So it's Australia now that gets to celebrate at their home regatta, the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix Sydney. And for the first time in season 4, it is the Australians that get the overall victory.